I don't know, right? So you have to prepare. You have to know yourself with the system that I've created. Know yourself, understand what are the limitations, and how you can take forward your growth in your life. Now, I'll tell you on those lines, I'll tell you a story about one of my friends who I used to work with on cruise ships. Now, this guy, very jovial guy, brilliant guy, he had no reservations. He used to live life, on his terms. And one fine day in the morning, when he comes into the office, right, he was called by the GM, right? He was a little tipsy, if you know what I mean, right? Because he had this habit of drinking every night. He had to have a couple of drinks before he goes to bed. Now, probably that night he would have had more. And in the morning he was called by the GM. We have a very strict policy on board the cruise ship because, when you work on cruise ships, you are also responsible for certain safety aspects, right? You also are part of the safety drill or the safety scenario. So if you are over a certain limit of alcohol, you would be sent home. You would be, dismissed. So this guy was called in the office, right? Great worker, right? No problem with the work part, right? He was called in the office. The GM sat with him for 5 minutes, and in that 5 minutes, his life changed. Any guess what happened? He was fired. Yes, he was fired. He was fired, and his life completely changed. He went in the cabin. He slept on the bed for half an hour. He cried his lungs out because he was he had certain responsibilities back home, right? That he was supporting his family, his mother and his other family members. And he cried, like, what has happened, right? But in that moment, he could not see obviously the good side of it. But the point I'm trying to make is anything can happen to anyone, right? But he was very uncomfortable with the idea of him going home and facing his family in that scenario. He was so uncomfortable that he didn't want to go, but he had to go, right? He went there, we went back home, and I met him after 2 contracts, right? I actually, before he went, I sat with him. I gave him my peace of mind, how he can deal with the situation, what are the things he should do, what are the things he should focus on, right? Because I always love doing that, helping him. And after 2 years, when I met him, he was working on another cruise ship company with a higher pay and with a higher salary, right? Now, what is the learning from that experience? First is anything can happen to anyone, right? But whatever happens, when you become uncomfortable, right? He became uncomfortable by default. I call it the default mode. When life throws situation at you. If you take my example, right? Me being at that position of not having someone to look up to, right? Created a situation for me so that I can grow. I can find answer on myself, by myself. And I'm lucky no one helped me. I can say that now, right? Maybe at that point, I didn't see that, right? I used to sometimes think, if I had my father, I wouldn't have to go through this challenge. But when I see it now, I give 100% credit to the universe, to God, that it happened for a reason, right? So growth happens, that's my growth formula. Growth happens when you are uncomfortable. Your comfort zone equals to your growth zone, right? So what is it that you're doing today, now? The reason why you have come here, obviously you need something. You're looking for something. How are you going to take that thing, right? One day, nothing happens. Seminar hoga, khatam ho jayega, aap apne ghar pe jaoge. You'll go home, you'll sleep over it, you may apply certain things, but one day is not enough. And that is the reason why I've created a transformational process journey, right? You step in from one side and you come out as a new person on the other side, right? If you know yourself, if you have the clarity, that is power. That is the system designed for. And a constant action on 3 months, every single day, will help you see the end of the light, right? Maybe at this stage, you are standing at the beginning of a tunnel, right? And you are seeing that light. Yes, Irfan has that light. I want that light, right? But there may be someone of you may be stopping it, right? Stopping yourself going through that tunnel. But once you come out go in the tunnel, go through the process, when you come out on the other side, that will transform your life, right? I want to demonstrate the further principles of that incident that I just shared with you, my growth rings principle, right? There are three ways that you can put yourself